9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the John DeVito Show. It is Saturday afternoon, 5:19 p.m. Eastern Time here in Massachusetts. And again, it's another day in the cold, frozen tundra that we call Massachusetts. It's chilly again today, and you know how it goes. It is what it is. We come in here and, it's February in Massachusetts. We get the snow, we get the cold. It's just part of living up here in the cold Northeast. So, I've been kind of paying attention to a lot of things that have been said on social media recently. I'm seeing a lot of things also that are being said, on different media platforms. And I want to get into talking about some of these things today because I think that right now in this country, we're entering a very dangerous phase of, a lot of people being called a lot of names, a lot of things being thrown out there against a lot of different types of people. We're seeing free speech being taken away from a lot of people in this country. And I'm seeing a lot of things that really scare me and a lot of things that I do not like to see in this country right now. Now, before I get into this, there is something else that I would like to address also. We have a very good friend here on this platform. Many of you know him as Slightly Serious. His name is James, and he has a very popular show on the Podbean app. And for a while, he was looking to move over to another network and move his show over there because, the man works very hard on his show. He creates a very good product. And a lot of people tune into James's show called Slightly Serious, and they enjoy his show. And I'm one of those people that really looks forward to his show and thinks he does a great job with his show. He's a professional. And, I'm very proud to consider him a friend, and I'm very proud to know James, through this Podbean network. And he's really just a great guy that has a great product and has a great show. Recently, he was basically, without notice, removed from a platform that he was recruited to come over to. And I know after listening to some of his statements, this was not a huge thing for him. I think he was disappointed. He was hoping it would work. But I think what happened to him on this network was the area of the most disappointment that he had in being removed from the network. There was a gentleman on that network who was the producer of all the shows. And this gentleman also has been coming into Podbean shows for many years under the name of Charming Misfit. So this person sent a series of texts to James, basically saying some horrible things to him, saying some terrible things about James's sexual orientation, and was really just awful in the way that he talked to James. He was awful in the way that he made comments about James's husband, and was really just a terrible thing to have to hear about. And it's a terrible thing to see that James and Slightly Serious had to endure this type of treatment from an individual that has been on Podbean quite a bit and is now a prominent member as a producer of the VLP network out there as well. So I just wanted to make my comment very briefly to say that, James from Slightly Serious, you have our support. You are a good friend of the John DeVito Show. I'm proud to be associated with you. And at this show, we support free speech. There's no doubt about it. Free speech is what this country was founded upon. Free speech is what makes this country great. However, as you mentioned so eloquently on your show, there is a big difference between free speech and hate speech. And I think what you endured on your show was horrible. The names that you were called, the derogatory comments that were made at you via text, the threats that were made towards you and your husband, to me, were just reprehensible. And there are no place for these type of comments on Podbean. There's no place for these type of comments on the VOP network. And I know that even on my show, we have had these same trolls coming into my show, and these same trolls, and we all know who the troll is, but this person has been coming in using the N-word on a lot of different shows, making horrible statements about people who are gay. And, on my show and in the other shows that I go into, we don't tolerate that type of behavior. We are all for free speech, but we do not condone and we do not accept hate speech on any of our shows. So, James, my heart goes out to you, my friend. You have a great show, one of the very best on Podbean. I know how hard you work to make your show as successful as it is. And I just want to reach out to you and just say that we've got your back. And those type of things will never be condemned on my show. And we know, that we love you. We love your show. Eric Kirk, who was a big part of your show also, he endured the same type of hate speech from this individual as well. And to me, it is just very, very sad that you have a person that's coming out and making terrible comments about people on this network who are good people. And, I know that we all have to rise above, and we all have to, not give these trolls the attention that they seek. Because when you get a troll coming into your show and they're making derogatory comments about a person's race or sexuality or any of these type of things, I mean, they're obviously looking to get a reaction. But this was more personal. These were direct texts that were sent, and it was more personal to, the person that it happened to. So I just want to kind of throw that out there to James and to let you know that everyone at the John DeVito Show, we're all big fans of you. And again, we love you. We will continue to come into your show, and we will never condone any of that type of hate speech on our show. So that's it. I just wanted to address that really quickly before we get into what I wanted to talk about today. And, I've got a bunch of things on my mind that have been kind of bothering me lately. And I've been seeing a lot of speak on, social media platforms. I mean, I got off of Fascist Book, so I'm not on that anymore. But I'm seeing things, in comments on things like TikTok, on Instagram, on a lot of different platforms, even in the news media, where we're hearing things thrown out there like toxic masculinity. That's one thing I hear all the time. Then we hear things about, white privilege. We hear things about white guilt. And we hear a lot of things being thrown out there right now in the media, which to me seems to be, in my opinion, very racist towards people who are white. And, I know that probably a lot of people will laugh at that because, again, we've had a lot of different races of people that have dealt with racism for a large portion of their lives. I mean, it happened starting in the 1800s in this country, and we've had people that have dealt with racism for many, many years. But for me, when I hear some of these comments being thrown out right now, I'm not sure what the actual end game is, but I'm going to tackle these, one by one as we go through. And once I'm done doing my monologue here, I will open up the call-ins so people can call into the show and give me their opinions. Welcome to everybody coming in. So I'm going to open up those call lines in a little while. So Eric, I'm going to just talk for a bit. And I just did a nice monologue about James. I want you to listen to that after the fact about what he dealt with on the Slightly Serious show and the VOP network. Okay, so I went into a nice long dissertation about that and told James how much we love him and how much we are disappointed in the way Elias and, as he's known here on the Podbean app, a charming misfit, made horrible homophobic comments about James. And those type of things should never be accepted anywhere. And there is a vast difference between free speech and hate speech, as James mentioned. And James, we've got your back every step of the way, my brother. And we will never tolerate those things in this network. So anyway, the first thing I want to talk about today is toxic masculinity. This is something I've been hearing a lot about. You hear that white men, men of different colors, manly men, whatever you want to call them, guys that in the past were maybe the protectors of their family, guys in the past that were, those men type of football players. I mean, if you look back in the old days, you got guys like Clint Eastwood, Arnold Schwarzenegger, James Dean, these guys who were manly men, were not afraid to go out and, be what they were, which were men. Now, I understand that here we're in 2021 and things are a little bit different. You have a lot of people that are a lot more comfortable now coming out with their sexuality and the different things that people are. And personally, I think that is phenomenal. I think it's a wonderful thing when a person who's gay can come out and be himself, be herself, be the person that God intended you to be, and be comfortable in your skin and not be afraid of, getting out there and just, living the life that you're supposed to live, because I think it's great. Again, if there are people out here that tune into my show, I know I've had some transgender friends that have come into this show. If you're born in this life as a man and you should be a woman and you've gone through, the changes that you need to change, I have all the respect in the world for you as a person. I think it's amazing that you have the courage and the ability to realize who you are and go after that. But, in this culture today, where people are being told all the time what to think, how they're supposed to be, how they're supposed to act, I find myself caught in a very different circumstance when I hear things like toxic masculinity. Toxic masculinity is something that you hear about that's new, So now, men are being told that it's not okay to be masculine. It's not okay to be a man. It's not okay to be, or I guess I should say, that type of man. All right. And I don't personally understand why all of a sudden here in 2021, we're being told that the men that have historically been, I guess, on the masculine side of being a man, I mean, for me, I look at a guy, I'm 53 years old. I was a college football player. I'm a man's man, always have been. And, for me to come out and, talk about my sexuality, I mean, I've been a heterosexual my entire life. And I don't know why. I mean, that's how I was born when I was, 12, 13 years old. And it was time for me to start becoming interested in, people sexually. For me, it just happened that I was interested in women and not men. And again, I know that for some men, it happens the other way, where all of a sudden you're 12, 13 years old and you're attracted to men. But in this society today, I think that you hear a lot about how it's okay for men to be gay, which it is. It's okay for men to be transgender, which I agree, it is. But why is it now wrong for men like me to be masculine? And what exactly is toxic masculinity? And I agree. I see a comment down there. Toxic masculinity is a plot from the East to undermine the militaries of the West so that they may extend the domination of their regions. And I do agree. I do think that there is a lot of politicizing behind the term toxic masculinity, where they are trying to take people like me out of the game. And I'm supposed to now be ashamed of who I am. I've got bad news for anybody out there that wants me to be ashamed for being a man, that wants me to be ashamed for being a masculine man. It's not going to happen. I am not going to bow down to the pressure that our country, that the left, that whoever it may be, wants to make me feel that there's something wrong with me for being a man. I'm sorry, but I disagree. I know now that maybe the role of being the protector isn't something that's really needed that much anymore. But I mean, for me, I'm 6'4". I'm 275 pounds. I was a college football player. I've always been a kind of high testosterone type of masculine man. It's just who I am. But now, what does that mean for me to be masculine? What does it mean for me to be, I guess, a manly man? Does that mean I'm abusive? No, not at all. I am not an abusive man. Does that mean that I hate people who are different from me? Hell no. It means nothing like that whatsoever. I have friends that are gay. I have friends that are transgender. I have friends of all different persuasions, all different sexualities, all different, colors. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit as well. And, to me, I don't see what my masculinity has to do with anything. And I don't see why we're being told now that if you're going to be masculine in the year 2021, it's toxic and you're a problem. Now, I see a lot of things that, happen in the media. Like I saw recently, Harry Styles, very well-known singer, was on the cover of Vogue magazine, and they had him in a dress. Now, Harry Styles, from as far as I know, is not gay. They said he's heterosexual. I don't think he's transgender or anything to that effect. Maybe he just hasn't had the courage to come out, if that's actually what his issue is, or what he is at this point. But if Harry Styles is a heterosexual man, I don't understand what the end game is to actually have him dressed on the cover of Vogue magazine in a dress. I don't understand. I've heard Candace Owens talk about this. I'm a big fan of hers. I think personally, Candace Owens, if she ran for president in 2024, would make an absolutely amazing candidate. I mean, she is beautiful. She is intelligent. She's young. She would bring fresh ideas into the Republican Party. She's African-American, and she tells it like it is. I mean, I would love nothing more than to see a woman like her come in and, run for the presidency in 2024. Now, Candace Owens has talked pretty clearly about how she feels when it comes to toxic masculinity and men wearing dresses and things like that. And she says, listen, I'm not going to be a person that sits back and just says it's okay to bash men. She said, I like my men to be masculine. That is what I like. And I will never bow down and allow the government or whoever it be, the media or whoever's involved with this, to tell men that they have to be a certain way. So, for what's happened in this country, I mean, there's been 200 years of racism. We've dealt a lot with African Americans being treated unfairly. I mean, there have been a lot of people over the years that have been treated unfairly. People who are gay could not come out. They've been treated unfairly. But, too wrong doesn't make a right. To now come out and to tell men that you have to be ashamed of who you are because you're a masculine man and you're a man's man, that's not going to fly. And in my opinion, it's unacceptable. And that is the same type of mistreatment that gay people have gotten in this country for many years, is now being thrown on the backs of masculine men in this country. And I just don't understand it. So moving on, I'm just going to highlight a couple things, and I want to open up the phone lines a little bit to give people a chance to talk. If you're in here, please share my live. Also, there are a couple of things I've been hearing a lot about. Another one is white privilege. And I know that this is not going to be probably a popular topic with some. But for me, white privilege is something that, again, I guess I can understand a little bit, but I don't really think it pertains to all white people. I mean, just like if you're making generalizations about different religions, people of different sexual orientations, if you're making generalizations about people of different colors, none of them are right, because you don't have an all or nothing in any particular group, right? I mean, to make general comments, blanket statements about anybody is just wrong. I mean, that is not how this world is. Every person, despite their orientation, despite their color, despite whether they're masculine, not masculine, every person is different. Every person has a different personality. Every person is wired a different way. And to me, it just makes no sense to claim that there is this thing called white privilege. Now, to dig into my life, I mean, I look at where I came from. I look at where my family came from. There was not a whole hell of a lot of white privilege in my life. Let me be clear about that. I mean, we had, both sides of my family, my wife's side of my family and my side of my family. My side of the family came over from Italy and France. My family, they were not illegal aliens. They came over, went through Ellis Island, went through the proper channels, became American citizens. They were not illegal in this country. They were immigrants. And they came to this country. They were white, and they got no privilege whatsoever. I can tell you that my grandparents on my father's side spent their entire lives working in factories. They came home with burns on their bodies. My grandfather worked in a plastics factory. My father worked in a plastics factory 12 hours a day, making barely enough money to pay rent for an apartment and put food on the table for their family. They worked their backsides off every day of their lives. My father did the same thing. On my wife's side of the family, I look at, the family there. Both sides of her family, same thing. You had immigrants that came over into this country. They were not given handouts. They were not given welfare. They were not given food stamps. They were not given free rent through Section 8. They had to work. They came over and they worked in factories. They made money for themselves, enough to get by. And generation after generation, these families, like my family, my wife's family, we all slowly progressed forward. You had the first generations that came over, they kind of took it on the chin. They didn't have good jobs. They didn't make a lot of money. They weren't rich people. They didn't have things handed to them. They had no privilege whatsoever given to them in this world. They worked for everything they got. I look at my father. My father didn't complete college until he was 34 years old. My father went 9 years night school to complete college while he was working in plastics factories during the day. He had my mother, he had me. And, back then you couldn't go to internet college. He was going to the building every night. He was driving from work directly to college. And he did 9 years of this so he could get his college degree and finally get a job that didn't pay him a lot of money, but it paid him a decent salary. So we could at least have a house, a small house, but a house in New Hampshire where we had enough money to have the basics in our life. And again, my father never took a handout from anybody. He never took a penny from anybody. He was never offered money. The only reason I was able to go to college is because I got a scholarship for football. I mean, I was not a great student. I wasn't getting any scholarship money because my parents made just enough where they couldn't get any money really for financial aid, but not quite enough to actually pay for me to go to a good college because they just couldn't do it. They didn't have the money to do that. So for me, my white privilege started by growing up in a family that was, lower middle class or middle class. I don't really even know where we were. I mean, my parents would always say middle class, but now that I look back upon it, it was probably lower middle class. I grew up in a house where my parents fought about money a lot. There was stress about how they were going to pay the bills. There was stress about how they were going to ever afford to send their children to college because they didn't have the money. And for me, I ended up playing a sport for 11 years that I never really liked because it paid for my college. I was a football player. As I said earlier, I'm a big person. I was good at knocking people down. I was good at playing football. It brought me a lot of attention. And fortunately, I was able to get a full scholarship to college. Now, for those of you that haven't played football, and for those of you that haven't been athletes in that manner, I mean, football is a rough, violent sport. And, when you're playing Pop Warner, that's one thing. And if you're playing middle school and maybe even in high school, it progressively gets to be, a rougher game. But when you play at a big college, it's a blood sport. You're playing against crazy people. You're getting injured. I mean, I had God knows how many concussions over the course of my career. I mean, I had shoulders that were blown out, knees that were blown out. I have back problems. I mean, my body is an absolute mess at this point in my life. But I did that so I could get my education. And I did get it. I mean, I wasn't a great student. I struggled my way through. I mean, I practiced till 10, 11 o'clock at night. And why did I do that? It's the same reason why my father did it, why my in-laws did it. My father watched his parents struggle. They watched him work their backsides off every day of their lives in order to give their children something a little bit better. My father, I watched him do the same thing. He busted his backside every day of his life, came home when it was dark, worked on Saturdays. I mean, he killed himself just to put the basics on the table so we never felt like we were missing anything, So for me, my wife and I now have done that same thing. So we're talking 3 generations of family on both sides of the family where we've been factory workers, we've been injured in our jobs, we did anything we could to get our educations. And now, if you come into my life now, you look at this family that, okay, boy, they have a nice house, they have good jobs, they have money. Boy, that's white privilege. You have no idea what you're talking about. This has nothing to do with white privilege. This has to do with 3 generations on both sides of the family working our asses off for 100 years to finally get our family to where we are right now. And it's not white privilege. It's been hard work. It's been blood. It's been sweat. It's been tears. And it has nothing to do with the color of my skin. If anything, I have gotten a lack of privilege because I'm white. And when I say that, I mean it wholeheartedly. I mean, for me, my grandparents, like I said, never got welfare. They never received Section 8. They never got food stamps. There were no colleges that were looking to get my father into college because he was Italian or white. There was nothing like that. There was nothing that specifically benefited my family for having light skin or lighter skin. You know, it just wasn't there. It wasn't available. So I look back at my family and I look at how hard my grandparents sacrificed, how hard my in-laws sacrificed, how hard my father sacrificed. I had a mother that had muscular dystrophy, and she worked into her 60s while she was basically borderline going into a wheelchair, and she still busted her backside so her kids could have money to do certain things. Like they had to pay for my sister's college. She got no financial aid, so my parents had to pay for her college, and it hurt them. It was a lot of money, you know, and I just don't understand where all of a sudden now you can come in and get the snapshot of my life and the snapshot of people's lives like me and say that we've got white privilege. It's not true. It's a figment of the imagination of the left and the powers that be that want men to feel guilty about being masculine. They want white Americans to feel like we're privileged and we should have white guilt and all these different things. And I don't understand it. I don't see how this is right. I don't see how it's just, and it's not accurate. I mean, you know, there are a lot of families that live in this country now, today. And these people are, unfortunately, you know, slaves of the system. I've talked about this on my show many, many times. If you look at, you know, democratically held cities, if you look at, you know, most of them across the country, you have a lot of people that are addicted to the system. And I don't blame anybody. I don't blame African Americans. I don't blame Hispanic Americans. I don't blame the white Americans that are caught in these traps. These are traps that have been put out there by the left, by the liberals, by the Democrats to create a dependent society. Candace Owens talks about this all the time. She is a young black woman. She's brilliant. She's intelligent. I would love to see this woman become a president. And I'd also like to see how the left and the Democrats would call Republicans racist and misogynist and sexist if we elected a black woman into the office. But again, you know, as they've said, she's not really a black woman because she's Republican and didn't vote for Joe Biden. So I'm not sure how that whole thing works. But white privilege is a figment of the imagination. And if anything, you have a lot of people in this country now that are getting all of the free benefits. If you look at people in democratically held cities, they're getting the welfare. They're getting the Section 8. They're getting the food stamps. You know, they get special treatment in getting children into college. Now you've got people like AOC who are coming out along with Pelosi and her gang of thugs who are saying free college for everybody. I mean, I didn't get free college. My wife, who went to medical school, didn't get free college. She went to Boston University, paid for all of her college. She got out of medical school owing $300,000 in loans, and we had to pay that back. We had to pay it back. I mean, where were they when they wanted to forgive loans back when she was getting out of school with her $300,000 in loans, right? It's just absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. So toxic masculinity, I don't understand it. I don't agree with it. I don't think it's right to make men now feel like they can't be men. I mean, women right now are being encouraged to be women. You know, you've got people who are gay who are encouraged to come out and be comfortable, and they should be. I agree with it 100%. And I agree with women too. Women should be allowed to come out and be strong, powerful, independent women. I married one. You know, my grandmother was one. My mother was one. I support independent, strong women. I love the fact that now young gay men don't have to hide who they are. They can come out and be who they are and be proud of it. That's the America I want to live in. But don't start telling me now that because I'm a man, that I have to be ashamed to be a man. I will not be ashamed of who I am. I will not be ashamed of it. I'm not an abusive man. I'm not a mean person. I'm a person that stands up for the little guy. If you're a friend of mine and I know you're having trouble, I will give you the shirt off my back. I am here as an alpha male, and I will protect my friends. I will protect my family, and I will never, never use the physical gifts that I have to threaten anybody, to hurt anybody, or to put anybody down. You know, for me, masculinity, just like femininity, should be celebrated. It should be celebrated, and the left may want to drive it out of society, but we can't let it. We can't let it happen. We can't let society go out and actually now tell men what they have to be. All right? Why don't we instead support everybody in this society to be what they should be? If you are a masculine man, go be what you are. If you are a gay man or a gay woman, Be what you are and be proud of it. If you're a strong, independent woman and that's what you want to be and you want to conquer the world, you go out and do it. If you want to be a stay-at-home mom, you go and do it. If you want to be a stay-at-home dad, there's nothing wrong with that. That doesn't make you any less masculine to stay home and take care of your children. It's so old that we continue to put labels on everybody. We have to label everybody. You're black or white, you're gay or straight, you're trans, you're toxic, you're whatever. And again, this thing has been happening over and over again now for years. And again, going back to what I was saying earlier about when you look at the inner cities, it all goes back to one party. There's one party out there that has created a dependent society in this country. I talked about the dynamics of my family. My family, my father learned to work hard by watching his father work hard and his mother. I learned to work hard by watching my mother and father work hard. My wife, same thing. She watched her grandparents work their backsides off. She watched her parents work their backsides off, and she works her backside off. When you live in one of these democratically controlled cities and you're being given welfare, food stamps, Section 8, your kids get to go to college, you get a free cell phone, you get this, you get that, you're being given all these things, but you're not working for any of these things. Now, don't get me wrong. This is not the fault of the people who are trapped in this cycle. It is not their fault. If I'm in that situation and I can make more money by staying home for my children than I can by bagging groceries at a grocery store or going somewhere else, I would do exactly that. I would stay home and make the most amount of money for my family so I could provide for my family. However, what's being stolen from these people is, and again, when I say these people, Black Americans, Hispanic Americans, white Americans, Asian Americans, anybody that lives in one of these inner cities or one of those areas where you do not have jobs and you do not have money and you are being provided for by the government, if you're one of these people, then you are being cheated out of the ability to work, to create something, to develop self-esteem for yourself, to show your worth to your wife, to your husband, to your children. And your children grow up watching you stay home, not work, accept handouts from the government. And that becomes a way of life. Because if you're not watching your parents fight and scratch and grit out whatever they can to make ends meet, then you're not learning that same work ethic. And it's a systematic problem where instead of seeing generation after generation of people learn to survive on their own and to work hard and to provide from themselves, you're seeing generation after generation sit back and just take money from the government. And what you do to keep that money is you vote for the hand that provides you. And so when I hear over and over again, white privilege, where is it? Where is it? I mean, and I'm not saying this to be, arrogant. I'm not saying this to be annoying. I really, truthfully do not understand it. I don't understand where it exists. I mean, is it if I drive into a neighborhood and if I'm driving a car and I'm white, I don't get pulled over and maybe a Black American would? I mean, I don't know if that's what white privilege is, but I know in my life personally, I haven't gotten a damn minute of white privilege. I haven't gotten a minute of it. Anything I have in my life, anything that my wife has in her life, we've busted our asses for, and we've earned it, and we've worked hard. And like I said, if you don't know me and you step into my life now and you see where I am, you might think, okay, well, look at them, white privilege. No. You've missed the 80 to 100 years of bumps and bruises and not having money and struggling that my family has been through and my in-laws have been through to get to the point we are today. So toxic masculinity, I talked about that. White privilege, I disagree with it. I don't see it. I think it's a tool used by the left to control the right. And you have a lot of, white men who are on the right, and we're being told we need to be ashamed of who we are. And to go from white privilege to white guilt, white guilt. Okay. So what am I guilty for? I'm 53 years old. I was born in 1968. Slavery ended in the 1860s. When I look at the time in this country when we had slaves, it literally makes me sick to my stomach. It makes me disgusted. It makes me horrified. I watched the movie with Daniel Day-Lewis, Lincoln, seeing what he did to kind of free the slaves back in the 1800s. I've seen Roots. I've seen all the different documentaries and movies that were based on slavery. What happened in this country was a disgrace to the world. It was awful. It was awful. What happened to African Americans in this country when they were enslaved is one of the most disgusting things that have ever happened in human history. But do you think, as a 53-year-old white man, it doesn't bother me? Do you think that I look at that and say, well, those were the good old days? I mean, no. But do I have guilt? I mean, I feel sad. I think it's extremely unfortunate that this happened. I think it's disgusting that this happened in our country. But what did I ever do to be guilty? I mean, I've never had a slave. I don't believe in slavery. I think slavery is disgusting. And I don't understand. Like, I see in California now, and James, I see that he came in. I'm not really looking at my screen, so I apologize for anybody that's making comments. I'm looking at my microphone and just talking. So if you're making comments, I'm sorry that I'm missing it. I'm kind of in rant mode, and I'm going to open up the calls in a few minutes. I want to get all this stuff out because it's really been bothering me. So I'm sorry if I'm missing comments. I'm just looking at my mic and not looking at the screen. So again, toxic masculinity. Why? I mean, why? Okay, I'm a masculine guy. All right. It is what it is. I was born, like I said, 13 years old. For whatever reason, God's plan for me was I was going to like girls. I'm a big person. I played college football on a full scholarship. I'm 6'4", 275 pounds. I'm a big type A masculine man. That's who I am. But what does that mean? I mean, does that mean I'm an asshole? Does that mean that I bully people? Does that mean that I'm mean to women? Does that mean that I hate gay people? Does that mean that I'm a racist? No, that is the furthest thing from what I am. I may be a masculine man, but I have nothing but love in my heart. And people have said that about me for years, that I wear a heart on my sleeve. And it's one of those things where when you see who I am and you know who I am, you realize that I would defend anybody if need be. And when, for me, when I look at the things in this country that have happened to gay Americans, transgender Americans, it's been horrible. I can't imagine what it was like. I know I've got some friends in here right now that are gay. I love you guys. I love you. And James, if you didn't hear it, I did a big monologue about what you said earlier. And what happened to you literally made me sick to my stomach. And I did a big monologue at the beginning of the show. So listen to the beginning of the broadcast. I did the first 5 minutes or 10 minutes directly to you. And for me, I don't care. I mean, if you're a gay man, if you're whatever, I'm here. I'm your friend. If you're a good person, you're a good person. And I'm not going to beat people down that are weaker. See, I'm in the camp that believes if you have a strength in your life, whatever it may be, whether it's financial, whether it's physical, whether it's intellectual, I believe in helping people, helping the greater good, doing good things for other people, and not being one of those people that beats people down, that looks to destroy other people. That is not what I am about. And I don't think there's a lot about a lot of what the masculine men that I know are about. I mean, I played football with a lot of big, tough guys, and most of those guys had big hearts and really cared about people. So when the left comes out and they tell us that toxic masculinity needs to go away, honestly, what I see is I think the left needs to go away. What just happened, with the impeachment hearing, what's happening now in this country. I mean, I haven't been talking a lot about politics, but we have a group in this country that is trying to control everything we do. They are controlling our speech on social media. They are controlling, the decisions we're making in our lives right now, where we can go, whether we have to wear a mask or not. They are controlling us every step of the way, and we no longer have the ability to make decisions on our own. And it's not right. So we have one party that's doing this right now that is controlling America, that's telling us what to say. They're telling us what to think. They're telling us how we need to be. And if we don't fit into, as they say, quote unquote, their definition of unity, which in my opinion is conformity, but if we don't fit into their unity/conformity, then you know what? You're a racist. You're a misogynist. You're a toxic man. You have white privilege. You have white guilt. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. This is what has been happening to people of color for many, many years in this country. Racism was rampant against African Americans, against gay people, against Hispanic Americans, against all different types of people. Racism has been rampant in this country for many years. And now they're trying to turn it onto us. They're trying to turn it onto me. And again, I'm not toxic. I'm masculine, but I'm not toxic. I'm white. but I have never damn been privileged. I've worked my ass off for everything I've gotten in my life, and do not tell me that I get handouts. I get nothing. I've got 4 children that are going to go to college. My 18-year-old son, Matt, has autism. He has Tourette's syndrome. He has OCD. He has ADHD. And every day of his life has been a struggle. Guess what he's going to get from the federal government? Nothing. He's not going to get tuition help. He's not going to get help to get into college. It's going to be on my wife and I to pay for him. He can't earn the money to pay for him, to go to college. I mean, if he has to live, because of the income that my wife and I make, he gets nothing. They cut back his Social Security payments because he has parents that make money. And again, for what? That we're talking about 100 years of my family busting our ass so my children can be penalized by the same system that never gave me anything. But I have white privilege. Now, you look at my daughter. My daughter is 15 years old. She's brilliant, straight A's in school. Maybe she'll get an academic scholarship. She wants to go to Brown University, okay? I never had the grades to ever even consider going to a school like that. I went to the University of Rhode Island on a football scholarship, and honestly, with my grades, I didn't even deserve to get into college. The only reason I got in is because I could knock people down and I was good at it. So, that's stupid also, if you want to talk about that. I mean, really, people going to college should be there for their education, not their ability to beat people up and knock people down. I mean, to me, that makes no sense, but I took advantage of that avenue that was available for me. But now, if my daughter wants to go to Brown, okay, we've got 4 kids. That's $85,000 a year. $85,000 a year. Do you think we can afford that? Do you think my wife and I can write a check for $85,000 a year? I mean, that is literally she'll get out owing, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 so she can get a bachelor's degree in whatever, making $30,000 a year. So my wife and I have come from generations of immigrants who legally came into this country. We have worked our butts off. Our family has worked their butts off to get to the point we are now. And literally, we've gotten to the point where, because of where we are in our life, we cannot give our children what our parents were able to give us. Is that fair for my daughter? My daughter's white. She's brilliant. How come there aren't more scholarships out there for her? Why isn't there more assistance for her? They tell her, well, because your parents make a certain income level, you're not going to get any financial aid. You're not going to get any help. I got 4 kids. I mean, we're going to have to pay for my oldest son for the rest of his life, maybe. We have to set him up financially, or, who knows where he's going to end up. And then we've got 2 other kids after that. And again, I know it was our choice to have 4 children, and I love my family. I love having a big family, but where's that privilege I'm hearing so much about? Where is it? Where is it? I haven't seen it. I got screwed. I must have missed the line, the white privilege line, wherever it was. Maybe it was in school. Maybe it was, when I went out for my first job, that white privilege line, it was somewhere and I missed it. I didn't get into it. And I guess that's my bad. That's my fault. And then the white guilt, the white guilt. I know I've been talking for longer than I expected to. I didn't mean to rant for 40 minutes. So I hope I'm not boring the hell out of all of you. So I'm sorry if I am. But for the white guilt, do you think I approve of slavery? Do you think I think it's fair that in some cities you have African Americans that are pulled over by police and are beaten because of the color of their skin? Do you think that I feel that what happened to George Floyd was a good thing? I mean, he had a lot of negative things against him. He held a gun to his pregnant woman's stomach. George Floyd was an abusive guy. He was a drug addict. He was a criminal. But did he deserve to die in the way that he did? No. Should there have been slavery in this country? No. Hell no. Hell no. It's disgusting. But what did I do as a white person today? Why do I need to have guilt? I mean, I never had a slave. I don't encourage slavery. I don't believe in slavery. I think it's reprehensible. But now I'm being told that because here I am at this point in time in history, because I'm a man, I'm toxic. I'm toxic, and I'm a manly man, so I need to be ashamed of that. I'm white, and I've been privileged my whole life, silver spoon in my mouth. I need to be ashamed of that. White guilt. There was slavery 250 years ago. That's my fault also. So a lot of bad things happen in this world. They happen every day. They happen every year. They've been happening over and over and over again for the course of history. But for one political group to continue to try to beat white people down and tell us we're toxic, we're privileged, and we deserve to feel guilty is the same type of racism and hate that has got us to this point in this country where we are right now. And it's not okay. It's not okay to be racist against Black Americans. It's not okay to go to a gay person and say some of the words that some of my friends in here have heard recently. I hate to use this word, but I'm going to use it. I have friends in this show right now that were recently called the word faggot by someone associated with another network who's been on this network. That is not okay. There is a big difference between free speech and hate speech, and that is not okay. But again, this has nothing to do with toxic masculinity. It has nothing to do with white privilege. It has nothing to do with white guilt. These are vehicles of hate that have been around for a very long time. And it doesn't matter if the hate's against Black Americans, if it's against white Americans, if it's against gay Americans, trans Americans, whatever you want to look at. Hate is hate, period. Hate is hate. And we are not going to solve the problems in this country right now by continuing to propagate hate and allow hate to continue to grow in all of us. It's just not okay. It's not acceptable. And I will not accept it. I will not accept it, because right now I see in this country, there is one party that is attacking the other party constantly. And I'm going to go in this direction. And after I make this point, the phone lines are open. So if anybody wants to call in, you can. But now, if you look at what happened, all right, January 6th at the Capitol, I'm a Trump supporter. I'm not ashamed of that. I am not embarrassed to say that I am. Okay. If you look at the months leading up to January 6th, Donald Trump, without question, did create momentum to the fact that he believed that there was cheating in the election. I also firmly believe there was cheating in the election. There were 74 million Americans who supported Trump who also believed there was cheating in the election. I'm not a moron. I'm not stupid. I'm an educated person. I don't need Donald Trump to wind up the little thing in my back to get me all fired up. I saw what I saw, and I believed that there was something wrong in this election. I believed that cheating was a part of it. I really did. And I still to this day believe that it happened. So what happened on January 6th, Trump, I don't think, incited people to commit violence. If you look at the videos, you see police officers pulling the gates back, welcoming people in. If I was there with my kids and a cop pulled the thing back, the turnstile back, and said, "Hey, come on in," I would have gone in. I would have thought nothing of it. I would have been like, all right, the cops tell me I can go in. I'm going to go in. When you saw some of the videos inside the Capitol building, people were walking in orderly straight lines into the building like they had been told they could come into the building. Okay. It eventually spun out of control, whether it was Trump supporters, whether it was Antifa supporters, whoever it was, got in there and they made bad decisions. Or if it was Antifa that did it on purpose with a plan and a goal. So if you look at what happened on January 6th, it was a dark day in America. You cannot say that it wasn't. I'm not sure the reasoning behind why it happened. I do think that potentially this could have been a setup by the left to purposely do what they could to get Trump impeached, to get him out of office, to make sure that he could never hold office again. Maybe that didn't happen, but I do feel that that's in fact what happened that day. So if you watch now the left talking about nonstop, Trump and all of his followers, all 74 million of us, we're misogynists, we're rednecks, we're ignorant, we're stupid, we're racist, we're this, we're that, we're the other thing. I'm sorry, but I'm sure amongst that group, you have all of the above. Just like on the left, amongst their group, you have all of the above. But the people I know that support Trump are educated Americans. They are people that care deeply about this country. They are people that want America to be great. And they deeply believed that Donald Trump was doing a good job as a president, and they deeply believed that he was screwed out of the election. They are not evil people. They are not racist. I mean, right now on the right, you see, hey, Lady Me, how you doing? Sorry, Class 1 probe. I'm not looking at all, so I apologize to all of you. I'm going to have Eric. Eric, why don't you call in and kind of look at the chat for me? I'm just kind of ranting right now. I didn't take my my Ritalin today, I guess, so I'm just kind of ranting. I didn't expect literally a 50-minute rant what I've been on so far. So, Eric, welcome in. Let me continue on my rant, and I'm going to finally get
take your time,
and then you can talk. So, anyway, I was talking about what I feel, how the Trump camp has been labeled, how the Trump supporters have been labeled. We're racist, we're misogynist, we're sexist. It's not true. Just like when I hear about toxic masculinity. I'm not toxic. I may be masculine, but I am a loving guy that supports my family, and I support the women in my family. I protect my children. I am not a toxic person. I have never been privileged. I don't have white privilege. I've never seen white privilege. I don't know anybody that's experienced white privilege. White guilt, what did I do? I didn't do anything. I mean, again, I completely denounce many of the things that happened in this country 250 years ago, but I had no direct hand in that, and I have no reason to feel guilty about what our ancestors did 250 years ago. It's just not okay. It's not right. So what I see is the left, who is constantly attacking the right. They're looking to impeach Trump, and they are looking to do all these different things to make the Republicans look bad, and that has been their entire platform. And I don't know if anybody saw this. Yeah, I did. So anyway, my son is bothering me while I'm on, so I had to actually speak to him briefly. So anyway, as I was saying, if you look at the Democrats, you look at the left, they have been attacking the right for a very long time, and the left is doing whatever they can to discredit us. I don't know if anybody saw this. On TikTok, you can find this, and there are other places where you can watch the little speech that was given by Nancy Pelosi. I'm not sure if anybody saw this, but did you see Nancy Pelosi talking about, I think it was called the wrap-up smear? And if, for those of you who didn't see it, she was giving a speech, and she was asked about a technique used in politics that's apparently fairly well known. They called it the wrap-up smear. Nancy Pelosi got on camera, and she gave a speech explaining what the wrap-up smear is. She talked about when you want to discredit someone, you come out and say certain things about them. Maybe they're true, maybe they're not true. And it doesn't matter if they're true or they're not true. You come out and you say them, then you leak those things out to the media. The media reports on these things, and then it becomes like it's truth, even if it isn't true. And she comes on and says, point blank, we use this all the time. It's a political tactic. We use this to smear people who don't support the same things that we do. And if you really look about what the Democrats did for the last 4 years against Donald Trump, it was completely 100% a wrap-up smear. They did everything they could to make him look bad, to discredit him. And I don't think for a second that they would not cheat to get him out of office. Now, when you look at the 74 million Americans that voted for Trump and didn't agree with the left, you look at those people, and now we are the enemy. We are the enemy. The whole point of the impeachment hearing wasn't really even to impeach Donald Trump. It was to punish all of us. It was to let us know, how dare you stand up against us? We are the kings. We are the queens. We are Congress in this country. We are your rulers. We are your rulers. If it had been back in the Revolutionary War times, we would have been throwing tea into the harbor in Boston. But these people are our rulers, and they are making it clear. How dare you stand up against us? If you stand up against us, we will bring in the National Guard. We will impeach you. We will put you in prison. We will call you racist. We will call you misogynist. We will destroy your lives for standing up to us and going against what we believe is the vision of this country. As Joe Biden has said many times, he wants unity. He doesn't want unity. None of them want unity. They want their version of unity, which is conformity. So that's where I am. That's where I stand on toxic masculinity, white privilege, white guilt. It's all bullshit. It's all been created. It's all been an attempt to go after the people on the right, to discredit us, to destroy us, and to make us feel uncomfortable in our own skins. And I say to anybody that hears my voice, listen to me, discredit it, don't listen to it, and don't accept it. Don't accept it. Don't let someone paint you into a corner and tell you who you are, because it's not okay. So, Eric, I'm sorry, man. I've been ranting forever. I'm glad to see you. How are you tonight?
I'm doing good, although the weather here is kind of cruddy.
Yeah. If anybody else wants to call in, the phone lines are open now. I have to take a breath before I pass out from that hour-long rant that I just had going. Hey, Mr. T, how you doing? Crazy Kane's calling in. Hey, let's fill up the lines, man. I'm willing to chat about anything. I'd like to hear some of your opinions. And again, if you're in the show and you don't agree with me, that's okay. I'm not like a sensitive guy. If you come in here and you're like, man, this guy's off base, he's an asshole, white privilege exists, toxic masculinity exists, bring it. I'm not going to get angry. No harm, no foul. I want to hear what people actually think. So, Eric, I'll start with you. I mean, some of the things I've been talking about, do you agree? Am I off base? What do you think, Eric?
I mean, you made some great statements, and to anybody who's listening to this live or listening to this on download, I certainly urge friends of the John DeVito Show and the Slightly Serious Show to download and listen to the February 10th edition of the Slightly Serious Show, because you will find his opening monologue to be very enlightening.
You know what? Hold on one second, Eric. Let me address that really quickly, because I gave a statement on that at the beginning of my show. Let me do it again now, since we have a few more people in the live right now. I want to say, and just come out publicly, that James from the Slightly Serious Show is a friend of mine. Eric is a friend of mine, and they are good men. You know, they've both been very open about who they are, and the things that were said to them by the person that comes into this platform as Charming Misfit and is known in the VO empire as Elias, the producer of that entire, platform. The things that he said to my friends were reprehensible. They were disgusting. And to actually use the word, quote unquote, faggot in today's society is disgusting. It's horrible. You should be ashamed of yourself. Dan, in the VOP network, if you have this guy Elias working for you, I can't imagine why you haven't canned his ass and sent him out to pasture, especially when he threatened James and his husband by saying, when I'm in California, hope you have your energy up because I'm coming after you. Who in the hell does this guy think he is? So for it's disgusting.
And I would like to also say to Dan, for throwing me and James under the bus, how could you?
Oh, yeah.
Because you have the opportunity, Dan Smeriglio, to make things right. And I also hope Carrie McCormick is listening to this too.
It's a shame. I mean, I went to the initial
If you
meeting.
want the VOP empire to succeed, Elias has got to go. End of story.
You got to. And again, like I said earlier, I'm all for freedom of speech. But there's a difference between freedom of speech and hate speech. And what happened there was hate speech. It's not okay. And those texts, I saw the text chain. I was literally—
That's a hate crime too.
I was sick to my stomach after seeing that. It was horrible. So, Eric, I'm sorry you had to go through that, man. It's not right that you and James had to deal with that. And hopefully—
Well, Chris dealt with a troll coming in as one of his agape teachers, Jess Duck being called a lesbian, Jeremy being called transphobic, and Robert being called a pedophile.
Don't forget me. I was called racist. I was called a variety of different things, and nothing can be further from the truth.
And I think, if this makes any sense, I think Elias is a little bitch ass punk because he ought to be ashamed of himself.
It's just disgusting, and it's a shame that had to happen. I'm looking down. I'm finally looking at the
chat. But I digress.
Hey, Mr. T. Hey, everybody that's coming in. Alpha Mike, I see your statement. I didn't hear that. I mean, I did hear that was a possibility. Was there confirmation that Tom Brady actually said that? Did Tom Brady actually say the N-word, or is that just something that one player is saying that Brady said? Because I guess my perspective on that is, I find it very hard to believe that Tom Brady would use that word. If Tom Brady used that word in anger or any way whatsoever, it's disgusting, and he should be penalized for that. I hope he did not say that, because I have a lot of respect for Tom Brady, the type of guy he appears to be. He looks like a family man. He looks like a guy that cares about his family. And if he did honestly say that, it probably should come out where he has to answer questions on that. But now, if you have a player that came out and said that he said that and it didn't really happen, that person should have to answer those same questions. So I can't say that I'm terribly educated on what happened there. So I see Mike's comment. I believe Tom said it because other people are trying to defend it because they said it was said in the heat of battle. And that's, I agree with you, man. I didn't really pay attention to it, but if Tom Brady said that in the heat of battle, that's no excuse. It's unacceptable. That's hate speech. I played football for 11 years. Not once did I use that word. Not once. And if he did that, man, not okay. So if he did, that he definitely goes down a peg in my book, without a doubt. So I hope he didn't. But if he did, that's disgusting, and he should be ashamed of himself, honestly. So go ahead, Eric.
And I will also say that I am very proud of the friends I've made here on Podbean, including you, John, and James from Slightly Serious. Dina Joe and the old man and Ralph, young Chris and Kane, who are also on the call with us, and Mike Tampa Bay and Mr. A. These are some of the most amazing people, you would get to know. And Lady Me, granted, I've not had the privilege of meeting a majority of these people in person personally, but I hope to one day be able to meet them.
Yep.
Because
I don't think I ever knew what Podbean was going to mean to me and what being on these podcasts was going to mean to me. I mean, I picked up the computer one day. We got COVID. I'm like, what the hell? I'll try a podcast. And I remember I got on, didn't know what the hell I was doing, was surprised when people came into the live. I'm like, was somebody in here listening to me? I didn't know what was going on. And, 200 shows later,
Yeah.
I think I'm okay at this. I don't think I'm great at it. I do the best I can. It's
Yeah.
never going to be my job. It's a hobby, but I enjoy it. And I've made good friends. I look forward to seeing people when they come into my show. I have friends that I look forward to seeing their names. Eric, I consider you a good friend. Crazy Kane, Chris, another new good friend. And it's a great platform. And there's no room for hate speech on this platform or any platform. It just shouldn't have.
And we were blessed, over this last year to have met some very great people and to have heard great stories. I know, like Matt and Caitlin, you have told their stories many times. And then other people were fortunate enough to have friends like Roxanne, we've not seen and heard from in a few months. She had a great story.
Now, honestly, Roxanne is a person that was on this network. I don't know if anybody in here remembers Roxanne, but Roxanne is transgender. And I became pretty good friends with Roxanne. And Roxanne, quite frankly, was my first transgender friend I've ever had in my life. And it really made me, I think, grow as a person to understand everything that Roxanne has been through. And it's made me a better person. So, for me, even at my age, I mean, I'm learning every day. When I was a young kid, the world was a vastly different place than it is right now. I mean, things were a lot different. In the 1970s and the 1980s, man, it was a different world altogether. And, as someone my age, I constantly have to learn and understand the changes that happen. And I love the majority of things that have happened in this country because I think it's been good for a lot of people where people can finally come out and be who they are and be comfortable in who they are. Because I can't imagine what it would be like to have to hide your identity and hide who you are. Because it's just wrong. It's wrong and it's sad. And pod
because people don't need to have that stigma of being forced to live a double life.
No. So Crazy Kane and Chris, I'm going to go to you guys also because I've been talking forever and I'm sick of hearing myself talk. So you guys heard me talking about things like toxic masculinity, white privilege, and white guilt. What do you two think about it? Hey, Kane, we can start with you if you want to go.
Kane can hear us.
Well, I heard a little guy in there. I heard that. Yay.
That's come from Chris.
Oh, I think we lost Kane. Is Kane still here?
Can y'all hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay.
Yes.
White privilege is a joke.
Yep.
That is a sadly joke. And if people would take the time to actually learn their history, their true history, sure, their slavery happened, but black people were not the only slaves. White people were not the only slave owners in the South.
No, that's true too.
And when the states decided to leave and secede from the Union, the only reason why they made the battle flag, the St. Andrew's Cross, the Northern battle flag of Virginia, was so they could actually tell which side was who. Now, some people say that flag was made with hate intent. I don't know if it's true or not. Personally, I don't care. Because I've seen the Stars and Stripe used by hate groups just as much as that flag.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, if you look
in my
at,
book,
I didn't mention this
both
earlier.
flags have been taunted.
Yeah, well, if you look at what happened this summer, look at the Antifa riots. Look at the Portland riots this year. I mean, you had people burning flags. They were desecrating our flag, desecrating our country. And again, you if you think of it this way, if you think the whole white privilege argument, I mean, the majority of people that you had in those riots were people of color, and I'm not judging why they were there. I get why they were there. They were pissed that that a cop killed George Floyd. I get it. I understand. So I'm not even here to debate that.
Right.
But if you look at what they were allowed to do, and maybe it's not even black privilege, maybe it's a liberal privilege. I'm not sure even what the right term would be. But if you look at what they were allowed to do, I mean, these white people, black people, Antifa members, Black Lives Matter members, whatever they were classified as. I don't like labels, but those are all the different terms that come to mind. They were allowed.
John.
They were allowed to burn down cities, and not only were they allowed to, they were encouraged by Pelosi, by Maxine Waters, by Ayanna Pressley, by all the Democrats. They were telling them to go out and continue to burn down these cities, and no one stopped them. No one stopped them. That's privilege. That's privilege. What happened on the Capitol building was a little bit different, and what happened over the summer, that in my opinion is what privilege is.
Well, my thoughts about the Capitol is this. We're in a pandemic. There was warnings. They should have had a little bit more security. There's 2 officers that passed away that were killed. A third one was stripped out of his uniform, and they were chanting "kill him with his own gun." And then before they even went into the Capitol, there's video of everybody making a list of people they want. Now, I'm anti-government. I don't give a rat's ass about people in the government, but I do not wish death upon anyone. Life is too freaking short. What I would want from my government is them to wake up, smell the fucking coffee, and know that we, the people, put them in their position, and we legally can take them out of that position. I'm done with parties. I don't like Republicans. I don't like Democrats. To me, both parties have put this country into the ground worse than the leaders. I'm not a Trump guy.
That is true.
I agree.
I think
Yep.
Trump is for the rich and only for the rich. I think Joe needs to go to the senior home.
He really does. He really does.
Anybody for abortion and stuff will never get my vote. Because to me, that's murder.
Mr. T's making a comment down there. He's absolutely right. We're at a time in this country where we cannot continue to allow these people to stay in office for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Those are not elected servants of the people. Those are dictators. They are dictators. They are kings. They are queens. They are running their monarchy. They are telling us how to live our lives. They are dictating to us what we say, what we think, what we wear. You can't say Merry Christmas. You have to say Happy Holidays. You remember that whole thing? Because you might offend someone if you say Merry Christmas. I'm sorry. This is a free country. We have free speech.
30
free
years
speech is different from
old.
hate speech. Yep.
I'm not about to change the way I talk. I'm from the Bayou. They got an issue. I know they know where to find me. But I got signs in the yard that clearly state trespassers will be shot. Survivors will be shot again.
Yep. I hate you,
And
brother.
I don't own any firearms, but I do have crossbows.
I picked my son up at his friend's house last night for baseball, and his father-in-law is actually his stepfather is a Marine, and he has that exact sign in his yard. So I saw that exact sign. It's got little bullet holes in the sign also. I saw that last night in my son's friend's yard. But hey, Chris, I want to give you a chance also. You've been waiting patiently there. So what do you think about what I'm saying? I mean, you've certainly brought a lot to my show over the years. You're another white man. I mean, do you feel like you're toxic? Do you feel like you have privilege? Do you feel like you should have white guilt? I'm just kind of wondering how you're feeling about things.
No, I have no white guilt at all. I have worked very hard for everything I have. I shouldn't have to be guilty for something my ancestors did. I didn't even know those people. That's not my problem. There's no such thing as white privilege. You people that think that there's white privilege, you're crazy. Come live in my shoes and you'll see there's no privilege. But John, the reason why I came on your show today.
Yeah, please go.
It's because you talked about masculinity and this and that.
Yep.
And my wife, as a stay-at-home mom, feels like a very ripped off woman.
Okay.
By the school system. Because these women have went out and they have fought and fought and fought for equal rights, equal rights, equal rights, equal rights. We're just as good as the man. We're just as good as the man. We're just as good as the man. Yes, you are. But there are certain things that a man takes care of and there's certain things that a woman takes care of. It's just the way it is. It's just easier that way if it's done that way.
Yep.
But by doing that, by them doing that, they've taken the home ec out of the schools. My wife doesn't know how to sew because she was never taught in school, just like they used to teach people.
I learned. Yeah.
They've totally,
I had
they've
sewing,
totally
I had cooking.
revamped everything, and now her as a stay-at-home mom, she feels ripped off because they've taken the stay-at-home mom out of the home.
It's true. That's a very good point. Because I think it's true. I think, I said it a little bit earlier, and I kind of went through it quickly. But I think you're right. I think a lot of women today, you have women out there that would love to be stay-at-home moms. And if they would love to be a stay-at-home mom, they shouldn't feel guilty. They should embrace that. They should love it. They should experience as much time as they can with their children, and they shouldn't feel guilty. But I think you're right. I think today there's a lot of pressure on moms and women to do it all. They have to be, great career women. They have to be fantastic mothers. They have to get their kids to sports on time while they're working 60-hour weeks. And I do feel bad for women. I think that along the way of the, whatever you want to call it, the independence movement or whatever, that I think women have unfortunately lost a lot. There's a lot of pressure on women today. And you're absolutely right. Now, I'm older than you and your wife are. When I was in middle school, I had cooking class. I had sewing class. I worked with a sewing machine. I know how to use a sewing machine because of that. I can fix things. I can sew with my bare hands because I learned how to do it. And you're right. Those things now are no longer present in school, just like they've taken out most of the shop classes also. Like you don't have many shop classes in conventional high schools. You have maybe technology centers, but you don't have, shop class in middle school anymore like I had, back in the day.
You know why? And you know why that is, John?
Why is
it's
that?
Because I think somebody else has said this on your show before, and that is because skilled labor has gone away. They're going to hire the person that comes fresh out of college and over the person that has 30 years of experience. I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen in government. I've seen it happen in big companies. Guy working there for 30 years applies for the job. He gets denied. The kid out of college gets it. Skilled trade is going away. And the reason why is because look at self-checkouts. I just eliminated 4 cashiers by putting in 4 robots.
No doubt.
And if companies can figure out how to replace the skilled labor with robots or machines, they don't need you. Well, if they don't need you, why do we need to teach that to our children in middle school and high school?
It's true. I mean, I literally was at a Walmart yesterday, and I haven't been to this particular Walmart in quite a while. They recently remodeled it, 6 months ago or whatever. And I hadn't really been in it for a while. So I had to go buy something. My wife's away. So I went to Walmart with 2 of my kids. And when we went in, that was the first thing I noticed. We went in, we bought what we needed to buy, and then we were going to go get in line. And all of a sudden I looked and I'm like, geez, there were literally maybe 3 people working the checkout lines. And then they had a whole new section of the store. I mean, there were some before, but not like now. There had to be, if I had to guess, probably 15 self-checkout kiosks in this Walmart. And, when you have the left, they're coming out and saying $15 minimum wage across the country. I mean, honestly, who doesn't like that? I mean, if I know that my kids can get a job, if my son with autism can get a job and make $15 an hour, that's fantastic. That's great. Yeah. He's going to make some money. He can survive. And I'm not against that. But the way I look at it is, when you say to a chain like Walmart or a grocery store chain or one of these chains like McDonald's, and you tell them that you have to pay $15 an hour to these employees who are low-skilled employees, let's face it, that's what they are. And when you tell them you have to pay $15 an hour, then they say, no problem. We go out and get self-checkout kiosks. We eliminate the employees. And now we don't have to pay anybody $15 an hour. That's why, under the Clinton administration, we sent over so many jobs to China under NAFTA because we stopped manufacturing things in this country, and all those jobs went overseas where you can go to China and pay 50 cents an hour labor as opposed to $15 an hour labor. And that's what's going to happen again. I mean, I would love to see everybody have the ability to make $15 an hour, but I think it's untenable for a lot of businesses. I mean, the big businesses, like the big chains, could probably afford it, but they're not going to afford it. They're going to go out and they've got their bean counters that say, well, if we cut 10,000 employees across the country and put these machines in, we're going to save this amount of money every year. Our stock's going to grow this much, and our investors are going to get rewarded. I mean, there's a lot that goes into that whole decision. But then if you look at small businesses, I mean, I think about, there's a great small business in my town here. I'll even see the name of the business, Rutland Marketplace. Great guy that owns the store. He's in there all the time. He busts his ass. The owner's name is Scotty. Everyone in town loves Scotty. My kids go up there and buy stuff all the time. It's right at the end of my neighborhood. They can walk up there. And Scotty, he's a small business owner. He does well. But I mean, can he afford to be paying, 6, 7, 8 teenage employees $15 an hour? I mean, that's going to kill a small business. And there are a lot of small businesses that are smaller than his that can't afford to pay their employees that kind of money. It's not that they don't want to. They physically, especially in the times of COVID, when businesses have been shut down, they can't afford to pay people.
Right.
And it's very difficult for small businesses. So I don't know. It's a kind of a hard thing to think about. But I do feel for your wife. I mean, to get back on point, you were talking about your wife. Now, does this make her, I guess, feel bad? Does it make her restless? I mean, how does she really feel about where she's at right now? I mean, it's, the greatest gift in the world is to be a mother, but it's also easy to say that if she's feeling frustrated about some of the things she'd like to do,
It does. It makes her feel very frustrated because she's trying to be that stay-at-home mom. She feels privileged to be a stay-at-home mom.
Right.
And that's what she wants to be. But, she wants to be able to sew patches on her kids' clothes too. And she wants to be able to, she's a hell of a cook. She's got no issues cooking.
Nice.
But I only have two more things to say. One, self-checkouts can kiss my ass. I always use a checker if one's available. And the reason why is because I want to support the employee. Just a second, son. Just a second, son. Number one, I want to be able to support the employee. And two, if you're going to charge me the price you're going to charge me for my groceries, you can beg them fuckers. Thank you very much.
Well, see now.
And
that just so you know, your son, it doesn't bother me at all. I've got 4 kids that are a pain in the ass. Your son's fine. Don't worry about him talking or whatever. That's completely fine. And if you want to come on and say hello, we'd love to have him say hello. But listen, one of my son Matt and my daughter Caitlin work at a particular supermarket in our area. It's called Demula's Market Basket, and I think it was probably 5 years ago. There were a couple of brothers, the Demula's brothers, that own this chain, and it's a very good chain, quality foods, discount prices. They're huge in the Northeast, like New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Maine, Vermont, whatever. They're a very, very big, grocery store chain. And a couple of years ago, one kind of like the evil brother tried to wrestle away control of this business from the good brother that everyone really cared about and liked. The entire chain, all the employees. Now, my mother-in-law worked as a clerk there for like almost 20 years, like doing groceries. So when this evil brother tried to take away the business from the good brother, literally the entire chain, where there were probably 40 different grocery stores, they all went on strike. All these per hour employees went on strike. They couldn't feed their families, and they literally shut down the entire chain for like 3 months until finally the brother that was gonna like sell out to a big conglomerate turn the control of the company back over to the brother that runs the company the right way. And then all the employees came back. It was a huge story in the Northeast. You could probably Google it and look for it. But now this supermarket, when you go in, they have probably, if I had to guess, the store that my son and my daughter work in, they probably have a good 30 or 40 registers all open. This store is packed all the time. You can't find a parking space. Every single aisle you go into has a clerk and has a bagger. Every single one. And they hire kids like my son Matt, who has autism. They give kids with special needs a chance, and they encourage them. And it's just a wonderful company that cares about people. This year, my son and my daughter both got a Christmas bonus, even though they've both been there for less than a year with this company. And that's why we got our kids there, because we know, I mean, the boys have to wear ties, the girls have to dress respectfully. It's an old school business, but they treat their employees well, they charge fair prices, and they pay a good wage to their workers. And they don't have one self-checkout in any of their stores. It's a great company, and I hear what you're saying 100%. So that's why we shop at those stores, and that's why our kids work at those stores, because it's the way business should be,
Right. And the last thing, John, there's the last thing for you. And I'll wait for someone to call in. I'll wait all the way to the end of the show. And I don't really care if people know how much money I make. I make a measly little $62,000 a year. I support 2 kids and a stay-at-home mom.
That's a good salary. That's what measly.
Show me the white privilege in that.
I hear you.
I'll wait.
Again, what privilege? Okay, white privilege. $62,000 a year. In my opinion, that's a good salary. I mean, you're making a good living. And there's nothing to be ashamed of making $62,000 a year.
Mind you, no retirement and no benefits, just the 62. That's all I make.
But again, now, was that given to you, or do you have to work for it?
I'll work my ass off for that money.
There you go. And like you said, there's no retirement. There's no benefits. You're getting paid $62,000 a year, and if I remember correctly, you're raising a family of 4 on that. And money is tight. I mean, that's it's not easy to raise a family on whatever you make. And if you look at, again, the white privilege, I mean, you weren't handed this job. It wasn't given to you. You've worked your ass off. And the whole white privilege argument, the toxic masculinity argument, the white guilt argument, to me, this is all about one part of our government is trying to beat down, demoralize, and drive a stake through the heart of the people who I guess you could say are quote unquote Trump supporters. So, that's what it is. I mean, I have never in a day in my life had any damn white privilege. I must have missed the opportunity. I didn't sign the papers. I missed the line. Maybe I missed the announcement. My guidance counselor in high school didn't tell me about it. Damn it, where was my white privilege? I've been working my ass off my entire life, and I would love some privilege. And it's never been there. And as far as the white guilt thing, slavery was awful. I've never owned a slave. I've never owned a slave. I don't know anybody that's owned a slave. As far as I know, my grandparents came from other countries. I don't even know if anyone in my family has ever had a slave. So why am I supposed to feel guilty of something that was done hundreds of years ago that I had nothing to do with it? Now, should I have guilt over the Holocaust? I mean, that happened in a different country. Millions of people died. Should I have guilt over 9/11? I mean, is that something I should feel guilty about? How about the Native Americans in this country where we stole their land? Should I have guilt over that? I mean, how many things do I need to have guilt over? Things that did not come from me, that I did not play a part in. I mean, why the hell do I need to feel guilty? I mean, is there such a thing now? You have, you look at guys that, in this country. I mean, you look at guys in the NBA, you look at a lot of business owners. There are a lot of now very affluent African Americans in this country because they've worked hard. They've gotten opportunities finally that they've deserved, and they've carved out good life themselves, which is long overdue, but they've been able to do it. But now, should they feel guilty because the Native Americans' land was stolen from them? I mean, I don't know. Where does this whole guilt thing begin and where does it end? And I don't understand why everything has to fall on my shoulders. What the hell have I done? I mean, why am I toxic to my masculinity? Why do I have white privilege? I don't have any white privilege. And why do I have to feel guilty? I mean, who is telling me the way I need to feel? I mean, the same people that told me I couldn't say Merry Christmas 10 years ago because I might offend somebody. So I don't know. This stuff fires me up, man.
Well, I think the reparations campaign subject that you're talking about, I think that is also proven to be a bad thing for America because we have no control of what happened back in the 1860s. We don't have control of what happened in the 1770s, and a lot of other travesties that happened in the past. But people, I think, need to just take it as learning experiences.
Hey, Sally, welcome to everybody coming in. Hey, if anybody else wants to call in also, and you have a different opinion, call in. I promise I won't yell at you. I won't get emotional. I won't be toxic. I swear to God. I promise I won't be. But if someone has a different opinion, don't be afraid. Call in.
But that's the
problem. And honestly, I'm always willing to learn. Go ahead.
That's the problem. Not many people want to take the time or the patience to actually learn their history.
Bingo.
True.
Nobody wants to learn both sides of things because everybody sees, oh, well, the North won, the North came down and preached and had this whole thing. Then the South lost a lot of culture stuff.
That's true. I mean, people need to learn and understand their history. And that's, in this society of today, okay, here we are, 2021. Slavery happened 250 years ago. It was awful. No one on this planet that exists right now has owned a slave in this country anyway. And, again, I don't see how people need to feel guilty for something they had no control of. I think that if you ask most people, I mean, 99.9% of the people in this country, how they feel about slavery, it was disgusting. It was reprehensible. It should have never happened. And it makes me sick to my stomach when I even think about what happened over those years. But again, it's not something that people of this generation need to feel guilty. I mean, do I feel bad? Absolutely. Right. Do I feel that it was disgusting? Of course it was. But I mean, I didn't do it. It wasn't me. And you're right.
Wasn't around. None of us were around. None of us had an opinion, had a vote. That was
we weren't even thought of back then.
No. And
But
if you
you know
if
what's
you look at
kind of you know what I've noticed in my 30
what's that?
years? Hate groups are still around.
Oh, they're
Just like the
everywhere.
government, they are
Yeah.
still around. And they
They're everywhere.
hijacked other people's
Yeah.
stuff.
Yep.
Like the rebel flag, to me, the rebel flag is the people's flag. It tells the
Yep.
government, we will hold you in check if you ever think you're going to become our rulers.
And I'll be honest with you. I mean, again,
It's a
you're in the
reminder.
bayou. Eric's in Georgia. I've never had a
Exactly.
rebel flag. The rebel flag. I'm a Yankee. The rebel flag doesn't offend me. It doesn't offend me
Yeah.
at all. I mean, it's a part of our history, and that was one of the the big arguments that I remember a while back. I had one show that disagreed with me vehemently about me saying that I didn't feel that our country should be tearing down
Erasing history, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, because when you tear down a statue, I mean, do you think I give a damn about a statue? I could care less about a statue. It's a piece of stone, it's a piece of metal, whatever it is. I don't care about statues. But when you're tearing down statues, you're tearing down history. And when you tear down history, you're tearing down the reminder of what happened in history. And if you don't think that people can forget about what happened, they can. And if anything, if you don't like certain statues, rip them down and put them in a museum, put them someplace where people can experience them, so you can remember maybe what this country used to be like at one point and where we are now. Now, one of the things I like a lot is if you go back to the Holocaust, and I think it was Auschwitz. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Auschwitz.
Yes. I knew where the story was going.
Right?
Yeah, well, they still have the concentration camps are there, and they haven't torn them down. I mean, millions upon millions of Jews were killed.
6 million plus, to be exact.
Murdered in these places. And they were asked, why haven't you torn these horrible places down? And they say point blank, it's a reminder to all of us as to what could happen. It's a reminder. And that's, I mean, in my opinion, that's what. Hey, who's that? Hello? Would you like to say hi to me?
Hi, Dad.
Hey, buddy, what's your name?
Say Ranger.
No,
Are you Ranger?
Daddy, hi.
Hi, buddy. How are you, Ranger? Ranger?
You lost him. You lost him. He's a boy of short attention span.
Hey, aren't we all? That's so cute, man. That just made my night.
I've been training him to say hi, John, and he got on there and did it.
That was awesome. Hi, Ranger. Ranger was the star of the show, hands down. That was awesome. I love it.
Sweetheart, can you turn your phone down? I'm getting an echo. Just a little bit. Thank you.
Yeah. So, anyway, so just talking about so much of the stuff in this country. I mean, we need to remember, but you can't assess blame. I mean, if you go back again and look at slavery, have you guys seen the Daniel Day-Lewis movie Lincoln? Have any of you guys watched that up on the panel?
I've never watched
I've
it, but
seen Gods and Generals.
ooh,
I've never seen Gods and Generals, but I did see Lincoln, and I can tell you, if you haven't seen the movie Lincoln, designate a couple hours of your life and watch that movie. I mean, to see, his feelings on what was going on. Daniel Day-Lewis was Lincoln. He was unbelievable in the role. And to see him playing, there was one scene where he was on the floor of the Oval Office with his children on the floor playing with them. And he was looking at pictures of slaves that were given to him. And his children were looking at the pictures. And he was overcome with emotion. He had tears in his eyes because his kids were asking why these people were on these pictures. And it was just such a powerful scene. And when you saw what he had to do in order to finagle the government into passing the laws that eventually ended up ending slavery. I mean, he was just an amazing, amazing person. And what he did was nothing short of astonishing. The movie, to me, is one of my favorite movies, and it's just amazing to see what type of man he was. And I still think we're right now in this country, I still think we're at a very transitional time right now. The guy we have in office right now, I'm not even going to rag on the guy. I mean, the guy we have in office right now, I was in New Hampshire visiting my 81-year-old father who has dementia. He has dementia. He repeats himself over and over again. He can't complete sentences properly. I can tell you right now that the man we have in office has dementia. So we've got a man that's been in office now since over a month. He hasn't given one public speech yet, and he's basically not really seen or heard right now in this country. I think we're in a very transitional time in this country. What I think I would love to see. I mean, I know that Trump was acquitted of the impeachment.
Yes.
Honestly, I don't know if I want to see him come back. What I would love to see
Lucky bastard.
is, again, now this goes through, okay, now here we go. Let's talk about, as I go into this next thing, let's talk about my toxic masculinity again, my white privilege, the fact that I'm sexist and I'm a misogynist and I should have white guilt. What I would like to happen in the next election is I would love nothing more than to see Candace Owens run for president for the Republicans. I would vote for that woman every day of the week and twice on Sunday. And this is a intelligent, young, black woman who is brilliant. And she says a lot of the things about, the black community that I've been saying for a long time, where they really haven't been given a chance by government. And to me, I would love to see this young woman come and become the new face of the Republican Party, because I think we've all seen that more African Americans have come over to the Republican Party, and a lot of times on the left, I just see a lot of extremists, a lot of hate, and man, we're at a crazy time in this country right now. I'm not sure what's going to happen, but I know that for me, being a 53-year-old white man, that's I'm toxic and I'm everything else. God help me, I'm a racist and I'm sexist. I hate women. I hate everybody. Just listen to the Democrats. That's what they tell me I am. But I would love to see that woman. She would be my number one choice. And if Candace Owens was elected the first woman president in the United States of America, I could not be happier. I think she would be amazing. And I don't know if it's going to happen or not. I mean, she's been talking about she might run. But how do you guys feel about her? Do you like her? Do you think she'd make a good president? I think she'd be amazing. And I don't know how the left would call us, racist and misogynist and sexist anymore if we had a woman as our candidate. So they'd have to come up with a new narrative, I guess. I don't know. That's okay, Chris. Go ahead.
Well, I think like the way I look at it now, I know, regardless of whether you love Trump or hate Trump, yes, he was unapologetically unfiltered, and I think I know a lot of the things he said and tweeted did get him in trouble and rubbed people the wrong way.
He attacked the media. He pissed people off. He said the wrong things, and they were out to get him. I mean, fake news from day one. I mean, he pissed a lot of people off, and they wanted to destroy him. I mean, it is what it is,
Well, but there's no denying the fact that he comes from a background of being a businessman, and as a businessman and CEO, he's all about getting the job done. And another thing people have to keep in mind is, he wasn't your run-of-the-mill politician, say like your Mitch McConnell or your Mitt Romney or your Chuck Schumer or your Nancy Pelosi, for that matter.
And the first two you mentioned, I mean, they're both Republicans. I despise them both. I despise them. When you tune into the John DeVito show and you think, oh, Republican, no, I'm not. I don't like any of these establishment people. We need to get them all the hell out of office. They need to be out. They need to be gone.
And of course, James on the Slightly Serious show, has been very critical of them. And I know our friend Kane here on the call, he's also very critical of them. And then and I think, with Donald Trump not being a run-of-the-mill politician, he used to be a lobbyist. He was donating to Democrats and Republicans long before he ever ran for president. And then the day he ran for president, they were begging and pleading for him not to run. And Donald Trump, like an idiot, ran for president and won. Yep. And they've been viciously attacking him ever since. It's like they made Donald Trump to be basically their boogeyman. And with Donald Trump out of office, But what's that, King?
But I'll tell you the problem I had with Trump. He became a crawfish. He became a crawfish because I watched every time that man went in front of the cameras. One minute he says, perfect example. I've used this on other shows, but example one, evidence one, the crap that happened in
Charlottesville.
Charlottesville. Yes. One day he's condemning the violence. Next day, oh, they had good people on both sides. Bullshit. When you have reporters, I'm not for white supremacy, but they're protected under the Constitution. Freedom of speech, right to protest, don't let any I'm very much against them.
Yeah, you broke up a little bit there for a second,
Our
but
Constitution
I
gives
want to
me
mention.
that
I
right.
heard you talking briefly. I wanted to mention this because I forgot about it. And by the way, Mr. T, I see your comment. I'm going to mention that in a second. But that was another thing, man. All Trump people, right? We're all white supremacists. I saw that today. That comment at least 10 times. How the hell am I a white supremacist? What makes me a white supremacist? Again, I'm being told, okay, I'm a toxic man. I have white privilege. I should feel guilty about things I've never done. And also, by the way, you're a white supremacist. How am I a white supremacist? What I've said is I believe the Democratic Party keeps African Americans, Hispanic Americans, poor white Americans enslaved in the inner cities, in the entrapment of welfare, food stamps, Section 8. I do not believe I'm superior to anybody. What I would like to see is a president like what Trump did, where he brought a lot of jobs back to this country and brought some of those manufacturing jobs back to the inner city. I would like to give those poor Americans, whatever the color of their skin are, an opportunity to develop self-esteem, to work a job, to bring home a paycheck, to show their children how hard they work, and to develop a work ethic in their family that's been taken away from them by the Democrats that give them handouts that just barely give them enough to survive, but not enough to thrive. So if me being a white supremacist because I'm a Trump supporter means I want African Americans to have the same opportunity, Hispanic Americans to have a job, to be able to work, to make money. If you get a chance to go to college and you can get a better job, outstanding. If you come out for a job and I come out for a job and you're more qualified than I am, then you deserve the job. I don't care what color your skin is. But all of a sudden now, Trump supporters we're misogynist, we're toxic, we have white privilege, we should have white guilt, we're white supremacists. We're not. This is the left
John,
trying to drive a stake through our heart and kill us.
John, that goes to what I've been saying for years. People need to actually talk respectfully, because when they don't talk to people, they isolate themselves, they judge. They listen to the rhetoric and then they judge. When issues here in New Orleans were coming down, I made it well known on Facebook how I felt. And you know what happened to me? The biggest joke ever. I got called a Nazi.
Or Nazi. Oh, that too. Okay. So I should add that to my list of all the different things that we have now.
And because of my speech wasn't coming out right, I was called an illiterate Nazi, and that my behind belongs in Germany.
Ah, there we go. Hey, let me for one sec. Hold on, Kane and Eric. Let me address. I want to just address some of the comments coming. I haven't been good with the comments. Let me just read these really quickly because there's a lot of good points being made. Let's see. So, Mr. T was. I see Rick saying, "I don't know about president, but he thinks that Candace Owen is brilliant." I agree. I think she'd make a good president, but you don't know. But we'll see if she does run. Mr. T, we were talking about. People just, saying certain things to appease people. It's not just Trump. They all do that. I mean, you look at Biden. He's come out. How many times did he and Kamala Harris say that they weren't going to ban fracking? And on the first day of office, they signed an executive order that killed 70,000 jobs for the Keystone Pipeline. So, I mean, for all those families, for you and me, maybe it doesn't matter. I don't work on the Keystone Pipeline. But for people that have, 3 children and they have a wife that's a stay-at-home mom and they rely on that money to feed their family, now they don't have jobs. So he took that away from all of them. I see Rick. Thank you for the little hand clap there. I think that's what that is. I don't see any middle fingers yet, which is
I like Mr. T's comment there. If the Democrats are so progressive, why put an old white guy in?
And I see Chronic also. The American dream is still alive and well. And thank you. It's not free. The American dream has never been free, just like freedom has never been free. You have to earn it. You have to fight for it. You have to nurture it. That's what freedom is, and that's what the American dream is. I mean, you think if you look at my family, that my family's been here now in this country for over 100 years. We've had a few generations where we took it on the chin over and over and over again, and finally, after, over 100 years, my family is finally starting to have a little bit of piece of that American dream. And, is that all things that I've done? No. I mean, I've benefited from my grandparents and my father and my parents, and my wife did from her parents and grandparents. We all benefited from the people that came before us. But I mean, it's not privilege. What you haven't seen is the 80 or 90 years of work in factories without educations, without food, members of the family that didn't have enough food to feed their families in my families. And those things happened to my family. And you're just not seeing it when you look at me now. It's not white privilege. It's just we've been in this country for a few generations, and we finally got to a point where we're doing a little bit better, and that's, I don't know. So I see Rick is saying equality of opportunity, not equality of outcome. Mr. T, it's the Democrat. Yeah, the Democrats are so progressive. Why did they put an old white guy in? I mean, for crying out loud, you couldn't find someone that was better than a 78-year-old man with dementia. But Chronic is right. All the other candidates probably would have lost to Trump. And I think they felt that Biden was the only one that maybe had a chance. And, I still believe they cheated to get him in. I don't believe it was fair. I mean, they made a lot of rule changes right at the end. Oh, they do. Of course they do. And there was no doubt to me that some of those mail-in ballots were fake. They were stuffing ballots. I do believe the Dominion voting machines helped them win the presidency. I think there was absolutely cheating. And if there wasn't cheating, you don't need 100,000 National Guard troops in Washington through the middle of March with barbed wire fences around the White House. I mean, if you didn't cheat and Biden was the most popular president in American history with the number of votes he's gotten, then why do we need the National Guard and barbed wire fences to protect the White House and the Capitol building? I mean, to me, that's kind of perplexing. I don't really understand exactly, why that. Let me scroll down a little bit more. I know I've been really bad with comments, so I apologize to everybody. Okay, Chronic saying, I'm an immigrant. It's a gift to come here and struggle and thrive. That's how my relatives looked at it. That's how my relatives looked at it. They felt gifted to be here, even though they didn't maybe, I guess, receive some of the fruits of their work. But, I think about it a lot, Chronic. One of the things I think about often when I look at my life and I look at where my wife and I are now, I look and I think about my parents. I think about my grandparents. I think about my wife's grandparents. And I hope that they can look down at us and see that all the work that they put in, all the work that they did eventually did have a benefit for their family. And I hope my children are able to do better than I am. And I think that's the hope of every parent. And I hope that my grandparents, wherever they are, can look and say, okay, we may have worked our asses off in factories. Maybe we didn't have a lot, but finally our family is seeing some results from the work that we put in, that our son put in, and now our grandchildren are putting in. And I hope that's the case. So I see Rick with a big comment. I got to read that. Has everyone here seen the back and forth between Cardi B and Candace Owens? I haven't, but I heard about that today. So it's definitely worth it if you haven't. She does a great job of calling out her obvious hypocrisy and that of the left in general, using her as an easy example. I highly encourage you to look into it. Very entertaining. So for people out there, I'm going to look at it when I get off the air. So if you haven't seen it, Cardi B and Candace Owens, the back and forth between them. Now, can you find that on YouTube, or where would you find that, Rick? Just out of curiosity. And I will definitely take a look at that, because Candace Owens, man, she is dialed in. She's brilliant. She's right on the mark. And man, I couldn't ask for a better first female president in this country. I hope it's not Kamala Harris, because I don't think she's the right person, but I think Candace Owens would be just amazing if she decided to do that. So, all right, we'll Google and do that. So, all right, guys, we've been on, believe it or not, for almost 2 hours. That's what happens when I rant for an hour without stop talking in the very beginning. So, I don't know what else you guys want to.
Sometimes we don't need to rant. Sometimes we need to let people know how we feel without being judged.
Well, I was even on the show today. I was up visiting my father. Yeah, I kept seeing it on social media today, and I saw the comments over and over and over again, and I'm like, damn it. That isn't me. That's not who I am. And it's really not anybody, that I know. Now, for the people out there, for the people of, color that maybe listen to this show, for the people that don't grow up in towns that are like all white, like the town I live in. I mean, there are a few African-American people in my town, but it's predominantly white. Just so when we get together at our white people cookout, we don't sit back and talk about, how we are superior and we want other people not to succeed. That's not what we talk about. And I really, in my now, thinking back when I was younger, 70s, 80s, 90s, you would hear the N-word more frequently. I had friends that would use the N-word. It was used back then. It was just a different world. I can't think of a time in the last, 10 years where I've heard that word come out of any of my white friends' mouths. It's just something that I think everybody feels it's reprehensible. It's disgusting. And, I've told the story so many times about my son, Matt, my son with autism, who goes to a boxing gym with all African-American and Hispanic men. They treat my son like a king. They welcomed him in and they changed his life. I mean, they're good men that did not need to go out of their way to help some little white suburban kid with autism, but they did. And they made a difference in his life. And when my son, Matt, got his first lead in a play, Buddy the Elf and Elf the Musical, Central Mass on stage production of Buddy the Elf, his boxing trainer, Kendrick Ball from Camp Get Right Boxing Gym in Worcester, Mass., he had one of his boxers. If you watch the Mike Tyson fight like a month or so ago, my son's trainer was in the corner of one of the boxers on that night on the pay-per-view event. Jermaine Ortiz is a fighter out of Worcester who's in the gym with my son, Matt. Kendrick's his trainer. So literally Kendrick was in the fight, that night when Tyson fought, Ray Jones Jr., because they were there for Jermaine Ortiz. But when Kendrick Ball, who was at the Mike Tyson fight, found out my son got a lead in the play, he left the inner city of Worcester, drove out to suburbia USA, and as far as I remember, he was the only African-American man in attendance of that play. But he came to see my son in a play with a bunch of white people. And when that play was over, he waited for my son. He came up and hugged him, told my son how proud he was. And then, I've got people sometimes on this platform like that jackass from the other network who we've talked about earlier in the show comes in and starts making up, names of me saying John DeVito's a racist. Who in the hell do you think you are to, try to even mention that about me and my name? It's so far from the truth, and it's just disgusting. So I know I'm getting off point, but, I don't know, man. I just think that we need to stop letting these politicians tell us who we are, tell us what we need to think, tell us what we need to be. If they tell us we're toxic, we're toxic. If you tell us I have white privilege, then damn it, I must have it. Who the hell are they to tell me what I am? They're not there to tell any of us how we're supposed to live our life, who we're supposed to be, what type of people we're meant to be. The whole purpose of these people is they are elected public servants of the American people, and they have forgotten that. They are arrogant. They are in control. They are running things. Right now, the 74 million Americans who voted for Donald J. Trump are being punished. We are being punished because we supported him. They are going to blackball our names. They are going to call us racist. They're going to call us white supremacists. We're rednecks. We're hicks. We're ignorant. We're uneducated. We are all these different things just because Nancy Pelosi and her cast of goons in D.C. are telling us that's what we are. I've got news for you, Miss Pelosi. I've got news for all of the politicians in Washington, D.C. that think you are my master, you are our masters. You are not our masters. You are not here to tell me who I am, what I should think, or what any of us should think. You are here to serve me. I am not here to serve you. And I know that none of you are going to hear this, but I think that more the American people talk about this, the more important it is for all of us. Because even if you're in this show, okay, and you're a Democrat, I don't hate you. You might think that I do, but I don't. I don't hate you. We may differ on certain things, but that's okay. That's what makes this country great.
It's okay to disagree without being disagreeable.
Well, it is. And I think one of the things that, whether you're on the left or on the right, the things we're seeing right now with censorship in this country, with social media platforms controlling what we can say, what we can't say, whether you liked it or not, Parler was removed from the platform by Amazon. So basically they were told, if you are right-leaning in this country and you join this platform because Twitter is censoring you, we're going to take this off and you don't have your speech.
I know a little bit about that. You do? That. Yes.
Let's hear it. Go for it.
They were taken down because they found messages from people who were at the riot at the Capitol, and they were sending out that didn't make it to the Capitol. They sent messages to go attack other state capitals because they were going to have a massive attack on capitals, take government officials out, and I'm not saying out legally. So in a sense, when they started making threats and planning, that's when they brought that thing down. They strict it. Now, I could say this about social media. Anybody makes a threat or plots to do anything against another person, those sites will be shut down. Am I disagreeable about it? No, because if it stops something that's domestic terrorism, I'm for it. Now, does that affect free speech? Maybe, maybe not. It's all how we look at it. Free speech is not free when you threaten other people. Free speech, like we've all been saying, is not free when you start making hate comments, suggestions about other people. The Nazis did that shit. The corrupt politicians in this country do that shit. What makes us different than them is we can have differences, but we can talk to each other like adults and not be kindergartners.
What?
And throw tantrums when
I think though,
we get what we
I think
want.
honestly though, I think that's how the right has been. Like someone had mentioned a little bit earlier, if you look at all the venom and the hate in general that comes from the left, and they, we may have disagreements, but they are out to get us. They are out to drive a stake through our heart, to put us out of business. That is their goal here. Their goal was to impeach Trump, kill him politically, and then take all of his supporters and destroy us. I mean, that is what they're trying to do right now by painting. Now, I saw a speech tonight, and I want to mention Rick's comment real quick, because I did like this. He said, that's the difference. Conservatives generally don't resent the other side unreasonably or outwardly hate them. We just think they are misguided, which is true, whereas the left has serious venom for the right. Now, I saw tonight, I came home from New Hampshire visiting my dad. I flipped on the news and I was watching Schumer talk about, the impeachment failing again. And he was talking about how the goal of this movement was to completely discredit, destroy, and basically ruin whatever credibility Donald Trump had left so that he would never be relevant in this country again. And when you see the speech that Nancy Pelosi gave, where she was talking about the smear tactics that they use, go onto TikTok, go onto social media, look up Nancy Pelosi, and it was called the wrap up smear. You could probably Google that. So wrap up, WRAP smear. Look up the wrap up smear video that Nancy Pelosi made, and she said point blank, it's a political tactic that we use where we put out false information. And then we feed that false information to the media. The media reports this false information, and that gives the information validity because it's now been reported by the media. The people see it, they believe it, and it discredits whoever they're attacking. And she said point blank, we call this in politics the wrap-up smear. It's a political tactic, and it's efficient and successful. I mean, does that sound anything like what the Democrats did to Trump for the last 4 years? They did a 4-year wrap-up smear on them, and now they're using this wrap-up smear on the American public that voted for Trump, and they're looking to tarnish us, discredit us, and put us out of business because, God forbid, we're toxic, we're privileged, and we don't have any white guilt, and we are all misogynists, we're white supremacists, we're uneducated, we're rednecks, whatever we are. And that's how they're trying to paint us, and that's how they're trying to kill us. They're trying to end us right now, is what they're doing. Well,
and I think another thing I often
like you,
go ahead.
Eric, and me, they see us as the unmentionables. Look at me.
I think we lost you a little bit. You're in the Matrix
there,
buddy.
A few shows. How about now? Am I still in the Matrix?
Yeah, you're coming clearly again.
Am I still in the
now.
Matrix?
Go ahead. So go ahead. No, you're
back.
Okay. Look at me. I'm going to use me as an example. I can't drive. The government says I do not qualify for Social Security. I can't even get a job, even if family would drive me, for the simple fact narcolepsy.
Okay.
I can fall asleep at any given moment.
Mhm.
And then I have sleep apnea. I'm a diabetic. I have health issues. You know, my brother's told me that he's seen other people worse off than me that do amazing things. That's great. That's awesome. It's a little bit harder with people like me.
Yep.
Because when you hear the things you hear, you do have some form of depression.
Of
It
course.
could be mental depression, and it's like a devil's advocate. It tells you constantly you're not good enough. That
Right.
you're weighing down people. Thankfully, I don't pay attention to it. Not everybody has that option, but they look at people like us, and it's conveniency as well. They want to blame people. They want to blame Trump supporters. I don't blame Trump supporters for any damn thing. I'll blame Trump for the stupid shit he did. I'm not gonna hold his constituents
And
responsible.
and he said and
I
did
mean,
stupid
it's
things.
not
There's no doubt about that. He did.
Mhm.
it's not their fault. He said stupid shit that they probably didn't like. I mean, people. These people do not think when they open their traps.
No, it's true.
What they
And
do think about is how they can get our money. They raise
yes,
taxes when they say they're not. They say they're going to be there for people like us, and then they're
they
not.
never do. They never do.
They look for reasons to go to war with other countries.
Mhm.
I saw
Crazy
that
thing.
with Russia.
What
I saw
what
that
breaks
with.
my heart about you, man, is I'm hearing you tell the story about you've got all these health issues and you don't qualify for Social Security. See, for me now, I see all these people that get all these benefits and they benefit from the system. Now, if I remember correctly, you're a white guy. So you're a
Yep.
white guy. You've got
Yep.
health
Mhm.
issues. You've got narcolepsy. You can't work, and the government has told you, sorry, but you don't qualify for Social Security. Now, let me ask you: do you have a trust fund? Are you a multimillionaire?
I have a trust that I got from my dad who died to man-made cancer.
Okay. So you have some money, but I assume not
But I
enough
have to
that you can
beg.
live. Yeah, but you have to. Yeah. So I mean, I get. But I mean, again, when I look at a guy like you, I mean, for me, where I pay my taxes, you are the exact type of person. Eric is the exact type of person. My son Matt is the exact type of person that I want to see my tax money going to help. It's not the
Mhm.
people that are playing the system, getting the benefits, then selling drugs on the side and making $200,000 a year cash selling drugs and taking those government benefits on the side. I want people that truly need the help to get the help. And again, if you're white, if you're black, if you're Asian,
Mhm.
whatever you are, I don't care. If you need help, you need help. And that's what our government should be set up to do,
Yeah.
is to really give help to the people that
Yeah.
need help. And it really honestly breaks my heart to hear that, again, Joe Biden talks the game. We're going to help people. But, what's Joe Biden? What did Barack Obama do for you for 8 years? And I guess also,
Mhm.
what did Trump do for you for 8 years? Probably nothing. None of them have done a damn thing to help you. And that's a shame. That's a failing in our country.
Yeah, and I'm going to also repeat something that Ronald Reagan said back in 1975. When it comes to helping people, like say Mining Kane's case, that people who, to no fault of their own, are not where they can care for themselves financially, or 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 are an ideal candidate for the workplace. I think as Americans we have a moral obligation to see to it that those individuals' needs are fully met.
Yep.
But But for people, who have developed like a reputation of like gaming and working the system as much as they need to be held accountable, he even proposed the solution that those able-bodied individuals should be given an opportunity to work for their benefits instead of remaining lifetime recipients of a dole as clients of an ever-growing welfare bureaucracy.
Amen. And it is.
And I'm also a believer in that with our country being of the people, by the people, and for the people, and the pursuit of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that we are all endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights, meaning our rights are not given to us by man or woman or by the government. Our rights come from the Almighty God upstairs.
Yep. No, I agree. And but see now though,
but they're wanting to take God out of public life too, which I think that is extremely dangerous for people to be doing that.
That's where I was going. I see T up above saying hashtag unity. No, see, actually what they mean is hashtag conformity. So if we conform to their way, then it's unity. And I see Rick saying that the double standard is infuriating. It absolutely is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right. Unity if it's conformity. That's what they want. They don't want true unity. And regarding what you just said, I mean, Eric, you're right on the mark. I mean, we have been told in this country now, I mean, if you think about it, now, I have to frame this properly. I mean, if I'm going to speak about this, I'm a guy that grew up as a Catholic, okay? I went to a Catholic high school. Am I overly religious today? No, not really. I don't go to church. I can't remember the last time I've gone to church. I saw things happen in my high school where I saw a kid get molested right in front of me by a brother, which was like a priest. And that was very difficult for me to get over. And I don't really get a lot out of church for whatever reason. So for me, I don't go. I don't believe a lot in man-made religions, but what I do believe in is I do believe in spirituality. I 100% believe in God. I believe there's a greater power. I believe that we have a creator. I believe that we have a loving being that has created us and loves me. Every night when I lay down, the first thing that happens when my head hits the pillow is I pray. I come out and I say, God, I love you. I want to thank you for the life that you've given me. I feel incredibly blessed that I have a wife and I have 4 children. Please give me the strength, every day to be a better man, to be a better father, to be a better role model, and to do the things I need to do to be the best possible person that I could be. And pretty much every night, it's very similar where I am, asking for God to give me the answers, to give me the things that I need in my life to make me a better person. But what we're seeing now is in our government. Our government is telling us that God can't be in the schools. God cannot be a part of our life. And God, is something where if you look at the left, they've tried to convince everybody that God isn't real. It's all the Big Bang Theory. It's all evolution. There's no such thing as intelligent design. It's all, evolution.
And it's not just one faith. They're attacking everyone's faith, because I've seen it on TikTok where you have these people that go on TikTok claiming to be all about Christians and this and that, and then they go and tell people who believe in the Norse religion that they're going straight to hell if they don't get right for this and that. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm a Christian. I don't think that way.
Right.
I don't remember somewhere in the Bible Jesus saying that he's here and his faith is bigger and better than all the other faiths. He said teach or learn the others and discuss. He never said go and judge one another to make this big movement or anything of that nature. Granted, I'm not perfect. I don't think any of us are.
Nobody is. Nobody's perfect.
We all have free will.
In the beginning,
we all sin. We all make mistakes. We all do. We're all the same.
In the beginning, before man-made religion was a thing, we all started off as pagans.
Right.
That's a known fact.
True.
And you see, that's the thing about me and my disabilities. I kind of quote the guy that played Roosevelt in the Pearl Harbor movie when he's talking to his generals and people, and he gets that part where he stands up and he's like, I think God put me in this position for a reason. For in times like these, when we see doubt and fear overwhelm the people, I am in this position to see it and try to help correct it.
Right.
But like we all know, censorship is the government's favorite friend. And then
They're trying to control us.
we speak unity, but they fear unity. It's
They do.
that fact.
They don't want unity. I've
Because
talked
if
about that
we-
many times on the show. What they want, the government does not want unity. I mean, if you look at the Art of War, Sun Tzu, it's a basic tactic where they're looking to divide and conquer. They know if the left is fighting against the right, the Democrats are against the Republicans, blacks are fighting against whites, men are fighting against women, straight people are fighting against gay people, whatever. If we're all fighting and we're all in turmoil, then we are not together going after our true enemy, which are the people that are running this government, who are controlling us, telling us what to think, telling us what to watch, telling us what to say, telling us who we are. And then while we're fighting over all that stuff that they're telling us, they're stealing our money. They are stealing our country. They are sending, our jobs overseas. They are putting together bailout packages where they're sending billions of dollars to countries like Pakistan for gender studies. Now, do you think honestly they're sending that money to Pakistan to do gender studies, or is that a payoff? Are they taking our
Sounds
money?
like a payoff to me, because I don't think they are paying for gender studies.
It's a payoff. There's no doubt. It's a payoff.
They're
And that's what we're seeing in this
And
country.
that is no accident either.
Taxed.
Yep.
They put it in foreign banks,
we've talked about it a lot. We've been on for over 2 hours. You're right.
And
This has been, in my opinion, a very good show.
Yeah.
Well, they totally don't think we notice. They totally don't. Well, but I think though they're at the point right now where we may notice, but they don't give a damn if we notice, because what's happening right now, like I said, hey, Miss Amber, hey, Sermonti, welcome to the show. We are being punished right now. The people that supported Donald J. Trump, they are punishing us. They are punishing us. If you dare stand up against us, if you dare question us as your leaders, you will be brandished as racist. You will be misogynist. You will be white supremacists. You are traitors to this country. And they are punishing us. They are punishing us just the same way where an abusive husband might punish his wife for doing something that he feels that she shouldn't have done in order to keep that control over her. And that's what our government is doing. They're punishing us.
And another thing I would be curious about is, since when has, using our common sense become a crime?
Right, it's true. Hey, enjoy, Chris. I see you. Definitely go over and enjoy. I'm going to end this in a few minutes. I encourage everybody that's in here, if you haven't been into Robert's show, I'm looking at my phone right now. Robert's on right now, the Mr. Clean Show. For those of you that don't know Robert is a guy that has special needs. He gets on and he likes to play his music at the Mr. Clean radio show. He has gotten a lot of trolls in here ripping him for who he is. He is a guy that looks like a grown man, but probably more realistically, he's more like a 15-year-old, young man.
He's legally blind.
Right, he's legally blind. He's got a lot of challenges. So if you get a chance, all of you, pop in when I'm done with the show in a couple of minutes. Pop in to Mr. Clean Show, give him a hello, spend a couple minutes in there, and just show him some love, because he's really got some terrible treatment by some of the trolls, most likely Elias, on this platform, that have been ripping other people. So, as I said, Eric and Crazy, we've been on for 2 hours and 10 minutes. I'm ready to wrap this up. So, Eric, why don't you reel off some of the shows that are coming on, and we'll wrap up this big boy and put a bow on it. So go ahead.
I think that, first of all, I'd like to take a moment, of course, to thank the listeners who came into this live cast, including Chris and Vanessa, Class 1 Probe, Crazy Kane 13, Lady Me, Slightly Serious, Don JCA, Alpha Mike, Mr. T, Rick, Nida, Asha,
Holy
Angie,
crap.
Sally
You remember
C,
everybody that came in?
Seth, Chronic, Laura, Jill from Idaho, Sarmenti, and the list goes on and on. If I missed your name, we appreciate you coming in, and we certainly appreciate the friends
Hold on.
listening to this on download.
That needs applause that you remembered all those names. That's friggin' amazing.
I wrote it down.
Go ahead. Wow, what a memory. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
We definitely appreciate the friends downloading this published podcast, of course, and as much as we appreciate the people who jump in live and even jump on the call, and I can't say this enough. I am very proud of the friends I've made here on Podbean, including the two of y'all and Slightly Serious, and the gang over at Trice Talk and Tall Tales in the Rabbit Hole, and the old man and Dina Joe and Ralph, and so many other wonderful friends, and Lady Me and Robert. You guys are the best. And of course,
Eric, I got a surprise for you, Eric. Didn't mean to cut you off. I got a surprise for you.
What's that?
After Lent, a miracle will be occurring. I will be returning to Podbean.
Ooh.
Congratulations.
Ooh. I like that. That's great.
So after my 40 day of no social media, I shall return.
Wow.
We certainly wish you all the best, Kane. And like the trolling issue that is going on here on Podbean, I am confident that this is being investigated, and hopefully that investigation is going to possibly confirm what we have suspected, and that those who took part in this trolling will be held accountable.
Yeah. Well, again, I think it's pretty clear. Like we talked about it earlier in this show, and I talked about how much I love James from Slightly Serious. I saw firsthand the text chain that went to James from Elias over at VOP Empire, where he called him, faggot. He called him horrible names. He threatened his husband. He threatened his family. And the things that person did were reprehensible. So, and Eric, I know that you were called horrible names, and
Robert was called horrible names.
Yep.
And if I'm not mistaken, I understood even our friend Lady Me was called a whore.
Brian, there's my fellow skank there. What's up, Brian? So I'm sorry. Go ahead. So who was called a whore?
Lady Me, allegedly, but I don't, because I think that to call a friend of ours, granted she may be the mother of like 9 children, that could not be further from the truth. Lady Me is a great woman of great character, and and to call her a derogatory name like that is also uncool.
Very true. Very true. So
I think Robert's Mr. Clean Music show is on right now, so you're all more than welcome to go and support Robert. And he'll even take your song requests as well. And then Chris, may go live later on with his Forgotten Tunes music show. And then our friends over at Lyrical Laxatives, Mel, John, E, and Mike, definitely look out for them. And then the old man will be doing his music shows tomorrow morning and tomorrow afternoon, and Trice Talk, tomorrow night at 11 p.m. Eastern time. And then Dennis Lee will be doing Tall Tales in the Rabbit Hole. And all next week, hopefully Ralph will be back doing his morning podcast, Chit Chat with the Old Man, as well. And
also, I've had a lot of fun recently in Planet ADHD with Father Brian.
Brian and Rebecca's Planet ADHD podcast. You're more than welcome to go show your support to them. And Slightly Serious is on weeknights along with Chuck and Billy's Not Your Cup of Tea. And
wait, Eric, hold on. Now, there's something all you need to know before you all leave and go over and see Robert. Now, you don't know when this is going to happen, but when you go into Father Brian's show on Planet ADHD, there is a chance that he may be broadcasting naked, just so you know. He kind of let that cat out of the bag, that sometimes, Father Brian has clothes on, other times he just goes nude. So you never know when you get in there, you might actually have a naked Father Brian doing his show. And I love it because, I never know what I'm going to get. And I get that visual going in. And it kind of gets me going right away. So who knows? Father Brian's show, he could be nude. So just be ready for that.
Well, and then Just Another Day in Paradise. That's another good show to be on the lookout for, along with like I said, Laura, who does Communication Station, and Pink Squirrel, whose podcast is this anyways, and a host of other great podcast friends we've come to all know and love. And then hopefully you'll be back with some more new shows very soon, and some more Agape interviews.
Actually, I'm going to be gone all next week. So I'm flying out on Monday and won't be home till Sunday. So I probably won't be on much next week. But when I come back, I'll have a busy schedule again. So I'm probably going to be for a week, but that's where I'm going to be. I'm going to be away for a week.
Yeah, and in closing, we want to wish everybody a very blessed Valentine's Day weekend and President's Day weekend. And on Tuesday, we want to wish everybody a happy Mardi Gras.
Well, Eric, did you buy me flowers? It's Valentine's Day tomorrow.
No, I hadn't. I just picked up my roommate from work.
All right. I was hoping.
But I mean, like I said, it was great talking to y'all, and we will continue these podcast conversations, and and continue to show the art of true substantive and stimulating conversation.
Absolutely.
So love you and God bless you, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Take care now. And go see, if you could, go stop into Mr. Clean Show. I'm going to head over there right now. Take care, everybody.
Good night, everybody. And download Slightly Serious this Wednesday show if you haven't already.
Yep, absolutely.
And download this show as well.